Adelaide has threatened this kind of action before, but it still came as some surprise. Players weren't even advised before the club went public overnight. Asked, along with all other NSL clubs, to pay Soccer Australia $53,000 for a projected budget shortfall, the club made its move. Effectively, it leaves 12 teams in the NSL for the coming season, while Newcastle today ruled out any thoughts of grabbing Adelaide players that now may look to move elsewhere. Meanwhile, a scheduled trial with United and Sydney Olympic scheduled for tomorrow night has been called off, but United will play Northern Spirit on Saturday. And it's expected Robbie Middleby will officially be named captain of Newcastle United tomorrow. Overnight, the Northern New South Wales Soccer Federation's top awards were announced. Rookie of the Year went to Western young gun Nathan Morris. It was a popular winner for Coach of the Year.
NBN Coach of the Year, Damien Smith.
After steering Broadmeadow through the season as minor premiers with just 2 losses all year, Damien Smith will be hoping his team can now become the first Magic side to win a top-grade grand final. Unable to attend, NBN Soccer League's Player of the Year was awarded to Hamilton's Evers Heath.
Robbie Middleby has come a long way since playing junior soccer with Valentine, a national championship with the Wollongong Wolves and a stint in Europe. Just 2 major goals he scored in his career so far. Now the midfielder can add captain of Newcastle United to that list.
Being back here in Newcastle to be captain of your hometown team, it's just a massive honour and hopefully I'll do a good job with it.
The choice of Middleby as captain comes as no surprise to soccer supporters, the club rewarding one of its star players for being a leader on and off the field.
I think I talk to the younger players and try to do as much as I can off the field and see how I go. I might have to get a bit more vocal this season, but I think it would depend on the game itself.
The midfielder says it's an exciting year to be a senior player at United, considering the amount of young talent coming up through the ranks. And he'll have his first chance to show off his leadership in front of a home crowd when United face the Northern Spirit on September 26. Cullen Robinson, NBN News.
If you really do have to lose a grand final before you can win one, then Robert Virgili can start celebrating. Going down last year in extra time, he hopes his time has come. Missing from the major semi-final loss, Kurt O'Brien made a stunning return from injury last weekend, and while Gary Wilson has an injury concern, the addition of both to play Broadmeadow will test the best defensive side the league has seen since the 1950s.
They've conceded 6 goals and we've scored 3 of them, so there'll be more goals this week, definitely.
Coach of the Year, Damien Smith, has already enjoyed a great season, but no success will only be measured on one result as his club searches for its first top-grade grand final victory.
The club's getting excited, so there's a lot of support behind Broadmeadow, so we know what we have to do, and it'll be a big bonus if we win on the weekend.
Questioned over its attacking ability, 2 incredible major semi-final goals stun the critics, and the Magic also welcomes back Jimmy Kresner. However, the coach had some concern before the big one.
It's good to have Jimmy back, but also my brother Ryan, captain, aggravated his knee on Tuesday night training, but hopefully he'll be right for Sunday.
Jim Callanan, NBN News.
Reginald Fenn prescribed natural therapies including herbal drops to treat the baby boy, who doctors had diagnosed as having aortic stenosis, a serious heart condition. Newcastle Supreme Court was told Fenn assured Mitchell Little's parents the drops would cure the youngster and advised them not to let doctors operate because the baby was too young to cope with anaesthetic. Then they allegedly postponed an appointment to discuss surgery. Mitchell died days later in September 1999. After more than 5 hours of deliberations, the jury today handed down its verdict. Fenn has been found guilty of the manslaughter of Mitchell Little between the 15th and 25th of September 1999. Several jurors sobbed as the verdict was delivered.
We're very disappointed, but the sentencing process has not been completed and we won't be saying any more till that's happened.
Fenn is expected to be sentenced later this year after he undergoes a series of medical tests.
It's to enable us to obtain matters to be put before the court for the purpose of the sentencing process.
Reg Fenn has been released on bail to await the decision on his sentence. Colleen West, NBN News.
A bird's eye look at the venue and a great way to catch a lift to the biggest game of the year. Rival coaches Edgeworth's Robert Virgili and Damien Smith from Broadmeadow delivered in style. Broadmeadow soon had their supporters on cloud 9. 2 minutes in and Ricky Metcalf crossed perfectly for Scott Maguire. Magic start for the home side, Edgeworth a little more scratchy. Steve Kasev's grand final was over in less than 10 minutes after this clash left him with rib problems. Conceding just 6 goals all season, Broadmeadow's defence continued to hold firm, even if Craig Carter had some anxious moments. There was little love lost between Mick Williams and David Bailey, who shared a moment. Williams almost had the last laugh. But few Eagles saw the funny side when Brad Davies failed to convert just on half-time. The match really opened up after the break as both sides created plenty, but neither could get that vital goal. It was end-to-end stuff, and 4 minutes from time, Williams finally got the one Edgeworth needed. That took everyone into golden goal time, and Chris Berlin just wouldn't be denied. His match winner finally getting the Eagles a long-awaited second premiership.
Leading child abuse advocate Liz Mulliner is excited about the upcoming opening of her long-time dream, a safe haven for damaged kids where healing can begin.
If the state won't take responsibility for it, then we as the community have to, because we can't see this going on. We can't allow this destruction to continue for the kids of the future. It's simply not fair.
Built on 50 acres in picturesque Warrabulong, the kids' camp will run alongside the nearby Mayamari retreat for adults. Led by caretakers Alison and William Ewens, a team of supporters, including psychologists, will be on hand to allow abused children to begin dealing with behavioural and emotional scars. And kids who are living with their parents' problems stemming from abuse are also being helped.
He was yelling and now he listens to us and tries to help it.
With no government funding, the centre is fully supported by volunteers and donations. It's a community solution that aims to do something about a problem that affects 100,000 Australian kids every year.
We're hoping that's what's going to happen, that people are going to say, abuse matters, what can I do? Well, you can actually do something. You can come and help us build, you can donate building materials. It can be the Hunter Valley's place where we say, we all care about abuse.
It doesn't take long to realise Rick Burton isn't the stereotypical American basketballer setting up down under. He's not tall and he's not black, but it reflects his position to change the perception of basketball in Australia.
We need to reconvince a lot of Australians that basketball is a great sport and that they ought to turn up for it and see that we've got the best indoor sports entertainment in the country.
Meeting one of the NBL's debut franchises today in the Hunter Pirates, he knows it'll take much more than new sides to overhaul the league. Being without a naming rights sponsor for the coming season doesn't overly concern the Commissioner, who's worked in countless overseas sporting organisations, but he knows backing from the big end of town is crucial. Mixing it with Newcastle business people today, a community burnt to some degree when the previous NBL side, the Falcons, went south, the sell is always going to be a challenge.
I reckon there'll be people who say, oh, the Yanks here, I need to come in and convince people we've got something to say, and we do, and that's the exciting part of my job.
As for the Pirates, Burton sees little need for him to be hands-on in the Hunter.
And I just spent the day with the Pirates, and I reckon they don't need my help. I think the people that are running it, Jeff Blandon, Butch Hayes, are doing a great job. And I reckon I've got franchises that are not as advanced as what I saw in Newcastle today.
Jim Callanan, NBN News. Resigned already to simply managing his injuries midweek to be ready for game day, Ben Kennedy still wants every chance to play the final home game this weekend. The coach knows what he'd prefer.
Personally, I probably would, but I guess I'll take into account his thoughts and medically what they think.
Workaholic hooker Danny Medeiros is already being managed week to week due to an Achilles problem. That means he only trains with the team once a week.
It's just keeping your mind fresh and getting away and doing different things and helping yourself recover from a game of footy. It's not just taking a couple of days off training. You've got to get out and do different things, so I'm taking that option.
The side selected to meet the Cowboys differs little to that which beat the Dragons. However, it can now begin planning for the semis to some degree.
We're coming from 7th or 8th at best, and that's what we've got to contend with. So, we've got to sort of take our chances when we get there and prepare well for whoever we play.
And Friday marks the big day for the home ground in terms of redevelopment.
Bob Carr will be up here at 10 a.m. to turn the first sod to start the process of redeveloping Energy Australia Stadium.
Yeah, it'll be good. It'll be in the Superdome this year, which is different to the State Sports Centre, holds about 20,000. So if we can get the biggest crowd there that we can, then it's going to help us along definitely.
For the first time in the Black Coal Cup's 3-year history, the Gods were good to the golfers, all players enjoying an easy day at the office.
Anybody that doesn't enjoy themselves today, it's their fault.
It was just as warm in the shade, organisers counting a whopping $66,000 in donations in the first 2 hours of business.
And all the schools are involved from Scone, Aberdeen and Muswellbrook. They really get behind this event, and the funds that they raised is just incredible.
11-year-old Luke Gagler felt right at home, helping his St James Primary School side to a 2-shot lead after 7 holes. Others didn't enjoy the same luck.
1 over, which is not too bad. We've got a team of players that have never played before, so we're hanging in there. We're not going too bad.
Adam McIlrick, NBN News.
This land at Curry was about to be cleared for a road when a protester suddenly chained himself to a bulldozer.
Just hid in the bushes and then ran out when it stopped. Got my friends to make sure it didn't drive off with my arms in here.
He was one of around 30 people who tried to stop the construction of the Hunter Economic Zone. Some of the protesters have camped out since Friday, claiming 28 threatened species will be put at risk.
We can have job creation in the Hunter and also have our ecology protected fully.
While extra police were brought in, they were unable to move the man who had his arms chained through a pipe. And while today's action may seem a little extreme, the protesters say it's all been worthwhile just to have their concerns heard. Meanwhile, those behind the development say 70% of the land has been quarantined for conservation.
Through that retention of bushland, we've been able to ensure that no population of endangered species will be affected or compromised.
But late this afternoon, an agreement was reached. Partial clearing will go ahead, but only on land which doesn't contain threatened species. A full hearing of the injunction will be held in the next few days. Lyndall Derrig, NBN News.
Building heights are currently limited in urban areas across Port Stephens, but it excludes land zoned rural, special recreation and environmental. That could be about to change though, with Council considering a uniform height restriction, which would limit the size of all new developments to just 9 metres.
The community really want us to protect the attractive features of Port Stephens, the natural beauty, and also have controlled development.
Complaints over the height of recent developments in the Nelson Bay area have been the driving force behind the move. Some councillors have labelled the proposal a knee-jerk reaction by their own planners. It's feared the proposed restrictions could jeopardise some large-scale developments.
It's going to restrict all sorts of developments, even down to the hay sheds and farm buildings.
The proposal will be considered at the end of the month. Colleen West, NBN News.
Tahu made a brief appearance at training this morning, but Ben Kennedy was nowhere to be seen, coaching staff deciding to rest the back rower ahead of this year's final series.
That foot injury of his is probably not settled down. We don't really want to risk him this week. Tamana Tahu's just got a couple of ongoing things he needs some treatment for today, so we're still hopeful he'll play on Sunday.
Yep. Matt Parsons has been named captain in Kennedy's absence, while Matt Jobson will start in the second row, leaving yet another vacancy on the bench.
Yeah, we've invited a couple of our younger players along today, Regan Tanner, Luke Quigley here, just a bit of insurance for a couple of people, and Danny Medeiros was the other guy that we just need to assess him over the next couple of days.
Although the Knights have booked their semi-final ticket, it's business as usual on Sunday. Beating the Cowboys would be a fitting way to mark their last game in Newcastle for the season.
It's also our old boys' day, so it's always a pretty special feeling on our last game, so I'm sure the players understand that and realise it's pretty important.
Adam McIlrick, NBN News. The Raymond Terrace Magpies could be just 2 days away from their first top-grade premiership, and doesn't the town know it? Main Street offices have been turned into barracking headquarters, with shades of blue, black and white strategically located around town to rally support. What are Raymond Terrace supporters like?
Mate, big. Yeah, they'll be good, mate. They'll be right behind them.
Oh, they'll definitely win. Yeah, no doubt about that.
But those in the coalfields might disagree. Same story, different town, as the Cessnock faithful claim they've waited long enough for premiership success, 25 years to be exact.
You're the go-winner this time, and I'm sure we'll get there.
So sure, in fact, one supporter has stocked up on Goanna's t-shirts, hoping they might be worth a little more after this weekend.
Well, my brother plays for Cessnock, so we've come out today to purchase some supporters' shirts, over $100 worth, but I'm sure it'll be worth it.
Adam McIlrick, NBN News. Lake Macquarie Police recovered the items last week. All are believed to be stolen. Chainsaws, DVDs, mountain bikes and jewellery are among the collection, currently being held at Charlestown Police Station.
At this stage we're trying to locate the owners of that property, and we're seeking public assistance in that regard.
An appointment will be needed to see the goods next Thursday and Friday, along with proof of ownership before any items are released. Meantime, property crime prevention was among the hot topics at Charlestown Mall today, with a Community Safety Week display run in partnership by several government departments.
A lot of the concerns in the area are around graffiti. They're also around how they go about reporting crime, so the different with the police assistance line and the 000 number and a bit of confusion around that. So it's been addressing those issues.
Adam McIlrick, NBN News.
Given all the history of the famous club, which has spawned Wallaby greats like Cyril Burke and John Hipwell, it's hard to believe the last time they won the competition outright was back in 1971.
Now the opportunity's there for this first grade team, the first 15, to bring that back, and hopefully it will be a start of a new era.
Winning through to the decider after a 1-point victory, the Tars will employ a simple plan built on brute strength, with their big back row to lead the way.
You're looking at your 340 kgs just with the three of those blokes. So, they're not blokes you want to meet in a dark alley.
It's at the Garden Sporting Complex where they'll meet Giant Killers Uni, who some think may have played their grand final a week early.
Waratah are raging hot favourites, yeah, and everyone should keep saying that, and we'll be the underdogs. That's fine by me.
Coach of the Year, Tony Hogg, played in the last uni side to reach a decider in 1993 and has since watched the club's fortunes turn full circle with some lean times between grand final appearances. It sparked plenty of interest from former players too, but he doesn't expect the occasion to get the better of his boys.
They're not overawed by the experience at all. They're very relaxed. They realise that it's going to be a hard task.
Jim Callanan, NBN News.
Two tractors and a domestic ride-on lawnmower was simply driven out of the Pacific Highway complex on Sunday morning. It appears the thieves entered the property by cutting a hole through the back fence, helping themselves to some $69,000 worth of machinery.
It will send us broke if we don't stop the theft. The insurance just won't cover it or continue to cover it.
For Kent Island, it's not an isolated incident. His business has fallen victim to tractor thieves on 3 occasions, but he claims the latest theft was by far the most brazen.
They're not frightened, to have themselves seen. It doesn't appear as though anything apart from someone else being here is going to stop them.
Mr. Island says given that specific items were taken, his business could be the target of an organised crime ring.
Well, we can't rule anything out at this stage, but there was an incident at Rutherford yesterday morning where 2 ride-on mowers were also taken.
Adam McIlrick, NBN News.
It may have looked all smiles between the two skippers today, but Ben Kennedy will be all action this Saturday night in a match his side must win to stay alive.
This is obviously going to be the hardest week to get through, playing them at home, and if we can get through this, I think we can go on.
To win, the bar must be raised on yesterday's performance, according to forward Josh Perry, who had a running battle with cowboy Paul Rahihi all match, the pair targeting each other throughout.
Yeah, it was good. I haven't had a running like that for a while, and enjoyed it thoroughly.
But his team made hard work of it against the Cowboys after leading 10-0. A 9-minute burst before half-time saw the visitors score 18 points. Steered home by Danny Medeiros, who scored a double and set up another, the Knights have plenty to work on before the weekend.
We didn't really care who we played, to tell you the truth, but it's going to be a tough game, and we're going to have to play a lot better than we did on the weekend.
Andrew Price's season is already over, the promising forward suffering a broken jaw. And Cowboys' Matt Bowen is facing a 3-week suspension for this tackle on Josh Smith.
Despite playing in Sydney, the Newcastle faithful made their presence known as the North Stars headed into their first ever National Ice Hockey Grand Final. The West Sydney Ice Dogs unleashed their attack early, but Newcastle drew first blood with captain Ray Sheffield leading by example. Ahead by 1, Newcastle went on to enjoy a 2-goal lead early in the second period. North Stars goalkeeper Daryl Battaglia saved 34 attempts at goal by the Sydney Siders, but he couldn't stop this strike by West Sydney's Martin Jesko. But the Ice Dogs were soon silenced, the North Stars scoring a further 2 unanswered goals, enough to seal the National Ice Hockey crown. Adam McKilrick, NBN News.
The spirit of competition reached fever pitch at East Maitland today. Students from the South Street School took part in their annual sports carnival with the support of teachers and parents. The feature event, the wheelchair race, was an open affair with the lead changing moments before the finish.
Our outcomes are a little bit different, I suppose, in some ways, because a lot of the children don't have a language facility, or as you've seen today, they don't have a lot of physical mobility. So we have to, make sure we modify the events.
Meantime, Cessnock East Public School looked more like a theatre today as the entire school took part in the Education Week musical Alice and Oz. An audience of parents were spellbound by the performance, with the school becoming a leader in performing arts in the coalfields. Paul Lobb, NBN News.
Training for a cricket match with a football just isn't cricket. But according to Blues coach Steve Rickson, it's this type of drill that keeps his state squad in tow.
For me to keep 20-odd young cricketers in New South Wales happy in New South Wales cricket squad, obviously I need to have a lot of variety, and that's what we're going to offer to the coaches today.
Having enjoyed success at a state level in recent years, Rickson and his assistant coach Trevor Bayliss were invited to impart their training knowledge on these Level 1 and 2 district coaches.
I think it's all to do with how you present a training session, and where I think in the past, there's the same humdrum sort of activities that happen. Kids want to be entertained. It's as simple as that.
The clinic all part of a Back to the Bush promotion.
The local director of coaching, Col Dent, and Les Vickery, the Maitland Junior president, they'd both shown an interest in getting someone to come and help out with the coaches. So this is the opportunity that we've taken.
Maitland Open women's coach Sue Allen was among those taking it all in, especially given her girls will be among the 14 teams playing in this year's New South Wales Country Championships to be held in Maitland on the October long weekend.
Yeah, they get a bit of hometown support too, so that's really good. Yeah, and this year the under-19 side's going to be playing at Raymond Terrace, so I'm sure they're really looking forward to playing over there as well.
Adam McIlrick, NBN News. It was thought Adam McDougall was Cronulla bound at the end of this season, but it looks as though he'll turn down a lucrative offer from the Sharks to keep playing in Newcastle. Although he's yet to re-sign, the deal is expected to be finalised after Saturday's semi-final with the Roosters. What a year it's been for Scone hooker John Johnson, last night named Group 21's Player of the Year. The accolade tops off a bumper season for the Northern Division rep, who also played a starring role for Country Firsts and the New South Wales Residents squad. The Rookie of the Year gong went to Clayton Johnston from Aberdeen, while Denman's Blake Duro was voted the season's best in the under-18s. And the Bill Turner Soccer Cup will remain in New South Wales after Sydney's Westfield Sports High hammered Kelvin Grove from Brisbane in last night's grand final at Edgeworth. But the girls from Nowra couldn't match their Queensland counterparts in the previous game, with a single goal proving the difference.
The Wandon Valley Wine and Cricket Club Pavilion hosted today's international, hosted by the Australian Trade Commission. 40 buyers from China, Taiwan and Vietnam spent the day in the region assessing the potential of our local drop for their markets. The working visit part of their tour down under for this week's Fine Food Australia exhibition being held in Sydney. The stopover could prove timely, with many Asian countries opening their doors to our exports.
Barriers are starting to come down, the import duties are reducing over the next couple of years. So we're seeing a lot more interest now in what Australia has to offer.
The Northeast Asian interest also comes with one Hunter brand having recently attracted the interest of Chinese buyers and another about to have product marketed in Vietnam. A foothold gained because of several important qualities.
And they all know Australia is a clean and green environment, so they know the wine produced here must be very beautiful and taste good.
Qualities that are expected to help Hunter producers in their battle to win market share in an area dominated by French labels. Gary Blair, NBN News. Spring may be only 2 weeks old, but the Hunter Valley Gardens of Becolban are already up and at 'em. A welcome change in weather conditions compared to 12 months ago has laid the foundations for the 25-hectare attraction to be bursting with new life.
Well, the rains from earlier in the year really helped us, and the winter hasn't been too hard on us, and now with spring really coming on, we're seeing some massive growth throughout the gardens.
Making the most of the conditions are the garden's 10-member team of horticulturalists. They're in the midst of planting 80,000 annuals for the summer display. It's a huge assignment which has to be completed in just 8 days. The latest plantings will add to the garden's beauty when a week of official opening celebrations begin on the October long weekend.
October 4th we have the Day on the Green with the Beach Boys. Dorothy the dinosaur's here during the week, and then on October the 10th we have the Premier here to open the gardens officially.
As the gardens continue their establishment phase, so does the attraction's visitor numbers. 8,000 people a month are now spoiling their senses at Hunter Valley Gardens, which accounts for about 16% of the visitors making their way to Hunter Valley wine country. Gary Blair, NBN News.
There was an eerie silence and stillness in the air. Today, for the first time since 1897, the Cockle Creek smelter came to a complete standstill. The siren, once used to signal the end of the shift, was instead used to signal the closure of the site. The longest-serving employee, Graham Abraham, was given the honours of marking the occasion. Despite its controversial past, today was clearly about the workers, past and present, who spent many long hours at the Hunter's first industrial site.
I know myself, I've watched a lot of the young men grow up. They started as apprentices. Also to me, it's like part of my family here at Cockle Creek, and they're really nice people.
348 workers were given a commemorative pack which included a slab of zinc, but more importantly, they also received their full redundancy entitlements.
People really just genuinely want to say goodbye to each other and have a nice quiet drink and reflect a little bit and just finish off on a good note.
20 workers will remain at the smelter for the next 6 months, but for the vast majority, it may be the last time they'll set foot on the site. More than 2/3 of workers still need to find a new job.
Oh, I'm unemployed for the first time in my life, so you tell me what I'm going to do.
And it'll be sad to lose contact with a lot of these people, it really will. So I'm quite proud to be part of Pasminco.
Lyndall Derrick, NBN News.
If body language means anything, then this looks like Ben Kennedy's favourite time of the year, but finishing 7th has the Knights standing close to the finals exit sign.
It's a pretty important game from our point of view, and we haven't been in this position for a little while, so just got to see how we come up.
3 times the Sydney Roosters have sent the Knights crashing out of the premiership race in the past 5 seasons, but the coach believes there's plenty of fire left in his underdogs.
You're expecting fours to rip into each other, so I'm sure that there'll be a bit of heat in the battle.
There has been in both clashes between the sides this year, and the Knights plan to meet an all-out assault tomorrow night head on.
We don't expect our blokes to back down at all. We want to see them get on the front foot.
It's a lower leg tear that has Matt Jobson in plenty of doubt. He travelled with the team to Sydney this afternoon, but is at long odds to play. That's where plenty have the Knights placed in terms of winning.
A lot of the experts are writing us off, so really we're not feeling the pressure. We're just going out there to enjoy ourselves, and I know all the boys are looking forward to the big game opportunity and just the opportunity to go out there and play, semi-final football.
Jim Callanan, NBN News.
A little bit of a click with the maturity of the senior players, taking a little bit more leadership as a collective.
The fire had been burning since late last night, but only this afternoon was its full potential realised. A popular picnic spot, the Mount Sugarloaf Recreation Area, was evacuated shortly after midday as fire swept up the west escarpment, forced along by gusty westerly winds.
The conditions are such that it's unsafe to fight fires directly. It's unsafe to put backburns in, and we have to run with the fire and try and contain it to our advantage. It's very difficult and dangerous conditions for firefighters.
No homes at this stage are under threat. However, 3 transmitting stations at Mount Sugarloaf's peak are in the fire's path, several units on standby if the blaze does take hold. Wind speeds of up to 81 kilometres per hour were recorded across the Hunter and Lake Macquarie regions this afternoon, but there's better news for the Rural Fire Service tonight, with the Weather Bureau predicting better conditions ahead.
We're hoping the Weather Bureau's right. Well, we'll continue to work as we can with safety. As the fire reaches out the fire trails, we'll try and contain on those fire trails, and we'll be hard at it until we have the fires contained.
The Rural Fire Service won't speculate on the cause, with investigations continuing. Adam McKilrick, NBN News.
A fire erupted in Fiona's takeaway on the boulevard early this morning, destroying a storeroom and extensively damaging the rest of the fish and chip shop. The Skopevsky family and their 3 staff spent today coming to terms with the impact of the fire. The cause is the subject of separate inquiries by police and fire brigades investigators. The smoke from the Mount Sugarloaf fire was today shrouding areas on the western side of the range. This view from the lookout on Sugarloaf showing the reason for the thick smoke that continues to be blown across Lake Macquarie and Newcastle. However, with the wind today turning toward the south and its strength finally starting to drop, the Rural Fire Service is optimistic the blaze is a step closer to being extinguished.
Under current weather conditions, the fire's burning back into itself. We won't put crews at risk.
Cessnock RFS is now in control of the firefighting operation and has hopes of halting the outbreak, which has consumed 500 hectares, if weather conditions continue to improve.
Approximately 48 personnel from Cessnock, Lake Macquarie and Maitland, with 10 tankers, assisted by 10 personnel from State Forest with 4 tankers.
With fire now away from popular public areas, Lake Macquarie Council has started to tally up the cost of the blaze and assess whether the damage poses any danger which would prevent the areas being reopened to visitors. Lake Macquarie Council will make a decision tomorrow on when the picnic areas reopen. Gary Blair, NBN News.
Day 2 of the Newcastle Spring Carnival, and you'd be excused for thinking it was a public holiday. An estimated 6,500 racegoers filed through the Newcastle Jockey Club, marking the city's biggest race day of the year. With the sound of success in the air, Darren Beatman set the standard in the Spring Stakes, posting 5 wins from 7 starts.
A lot of the trainers and owners that I've ridden for today, the horses have been really well placed, and just to come here on a major day for Newcastle, I've ridden here, over 20 years, so this is my best effort here.
Race 8, the Gold Cup, and the jockeys put their best foot forward, a crack field of Group 3 runners testing the most seasoned punters, proving thirsty work. But this day belonged to Corey Brown, the former Wingham apprentice, winning back-to-back Newcastle Spring features. The John Hawkes trained 6-year-old returned $9 for the win and $3.10 the place, while the trifecta managed to shade over $880.
I had a small investment. Actually, they bet a lot better price with the bookies than what he eventually ended up on the TAB, but nice result.
Comforts can now rest easy with his spot booked in the Group 1 Metropolitan Handicap at Randwick. Adam McKilrick, NBN News.
Don't believe all you read. Robbie O'Davis still comes at a price, and while it took a while to settle on one with the Knights, the fullback knew he was never heading anywhere else.
They won because their offer still stands exactly the same as when they started. But, mate, I suppose I've won too because I've got left in the town that I wanted to be part of.
His early season form led to Queensland's selection, with only injury ruling him out, something that dogged him for the rest of the year. That horrible collision which smashed his face was followed by a broken thumb and thoughts of retirement. However, the challenge of playing top-grade football is something he can't give up just yet, with his final decision made easier after the Roosters match last weekend.
Very energetic style of football where you've got 6 to 10 defenders in your face on kick chases, and mate, where the enthusiasm comes from I don't know, but if we can play the same sort of way next year, I want to be part of that.
It's believed the club will have a positive decision on Adam McDougall's future tomorrow. And as one National League team enjoyed a high-profile finish to the year, another is about to start its campaign. Newcastle United arrived in New Zealand today ahead of its season opener against the Football Kings, with news the Kiwis just lost its major sponsor and $500,000 along with it. Jim Callanan, NBN News.
You'd be excused for thinking these ladies' uniforms were a little brighter today, standing tall celebrating the 70th anniversary of the Lambton Park Women's Bowling Club. Up until 6 months ago, the ladies operated out of a separate clubhouse, surviving almost 7 decades without the backing of a registered club.
It was just all hard work, raffles and street stalls and craft stalls, anything that they could raise money through.
And that determination showed on the green. Not even the strongest headwind could turn these ladies off their bowls, especially on their club's 70th birthday. Adam McKilrick, NBN News.
Two weeks ago, walking was impossible for Robbie Middleby, completely tearing an ankle ligament during a trial match. But intensive treatment has fast-tracked his return.
I had the same injury last year with my other ankle, and it took quite some time. And I think with our physio Dave Naylor and myself, we sort of did the right thing with it this year.
And he comes back just in time for what will be his career highlight, to lead out his home team as captain for the first time.
To be captain of Newcastle, honestly, it's probably my ultimate accolade, and such an honour to walk out with the team.
Middleby will only add to the attacking potency of United, which put 2 past the Football Kings in the season opener. It may be his experience, though, that proves crucial in tonight's clash against the Northern Spirit.
Surprise result last week for them, but they've got 3 guys coming back into the team, and the guys that are coming back in the team are pretty experienced guys.